The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. And wherever we are, God is, and all is well. I am divine. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Unity of the Little Rock. We're going to start with a little music this morning. Unfortunately, Ashley of the Lantern Mantles is under the weather today, so we won't have live music. So we're just going to have to sing along to the good old recorded stuff of all our favorites.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Oh, didn't like it. Oh, you're just not going to do it this morning. Well, go ahead. Just behave. It's not. Nope. Well, so guess what? We won't have any music this morning. That's okay. Maybe the next one. For whatever reason, that's not linking to the song. So we won't worry about it because we come together today. Yeah, maybe for a little for the music, but we come together to be in community because this is a place to belong. It belongs for you in this community and a place for us to know that this community belongs here in Little Rock and that we offer something of value that touches people's lives. And it's for us to be the ones that take that value out into the world so that people can see it and know it through our actions, through who we are, through who we bring forth. So with that, remember that we're an inclusive community. And that doesn't mean that, oh, it's okay if you come in and we'll let you sit in the corner. Inclusivity means come in and be a part of us, be active, participate in what we do. Take action in this world with us. Whoever you may be, whether it's our LGBTQIA plus community, whether it's those that come from different nationalities, come from different faiths, religions, whoever it is, we approach and love and embrace and say, be a part of us. Not just sit on the fringes, but be a part, be included, be us in actuality. Amen. Amen. So we have our Christ candle lit this morning. Here's your quiz. You know I got to give you a quiz. Which quiz? What's the Christ candle represent for us?
The light within.
The light within. The light within all of us. Oh my goodness, Gail is in the house. The party has begun. So our Christ candle does just that. As Verraine in our crowd here today said, it represents the light within us all, that divine nature within us all. Not just in some of us, not in the chosen only ones, but the chosen all, meaning all of us, every one of us, every being on this planet. And I've got a great picture I'll show you in a minute that represents to me that light breaking forth from all of us. But let us begin today with prayer. Well, no, going to do our opening statement. I'm on a roll. I love it when it just pops for me. Okay? Let's do our opening statement. Together, there is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe. God, the good, the omnipotence. Who's in reading mode this morning? Who wants to read?
I guess I have to be in reading mode.
Oh my goodness! I love it.
Do I need to?
Yes, you'll have to.
I love when I'm volunteering for.
I didn't know what I was getting into.
That's all right.
All right, just hold the mic.
Okay.
And this is just laid out for you to read, and just read as enthusiastically as you got in you. Okay? That's all right.
Our daily word is abundance. And our affirmation for today is, I gratefully take my place in an abundant world. Today, I renew my appreciation for the world's abundance. From my personal belongings to inspiring public spaces and the wonders of the natural world, abundance surrounds me. It can be easy to take these things for granted, especially when the needs and obligations of daily life usurp my energy and attention. My focus is key. As I fill my senses with the beauty and goodness that surround me, I feel my gratitude for the world's bounty anew. God is the source of the abundance in my life. I am grateful for the goodness and grace of God that blesses the world and expresses at the point of me. I live abundantly, grateful for all I've been given, and for my opportunity to give it back. Our verse is from Philippians 4:19. And my God will fully satisfy every need of yours according to his riches in glory in Christ Jesus. Let us repeat our affirmation.
I gratefully take my place in an abundant world. Yay! Thank you. Thank you. Look at that. She has no idea what she's getting into. Thank you. Thank you this morning. That was wonderful. Now, guess what?
Now we got prayer.
Now we got prayer. This is our song that we'll sing with the word. Come on in.
Hi. Sorry, I'm late.
Join in. No problem. Glad you're here. So first, let me just welcome those that are online. Thank y'all. Thank you for being here with us. Because whether you're in this room or whether you're 10,000 miles away, you're aligning and supporting and being a part of this community. So thank you. Thank you for all of you. And whether you come in late or not, and I single you out in front of the crowd, know you're welcome. Thank goodness that you're here. Whenever you're here, however you're here. So with that, we'll do our opening prayer. As you're ready, maybe close your eyes. Just allow your breath to rise and fall, being aware that in you is life. In you is this divine nature, and we call it by many names. We call it love and the universal intelligence. We call it God sometimes. But it is our divine nature, and it's within us all. It is all of us, and all that is this divine nature. And within that is every opportunity, potential, awareness, understanding, experience, whatever you can imagine is already in that divine nature. But it's for us to bring that divine nature out and forth and into the world so we can bring forth whatever we can imagine. So do we imagine peace? Do we imagine love? Do we imagine harmony and joy and health and well-being? Prosperity, whatever we can imagine, we can bring forth, because that divine nature that it includes that is within us. Thus, it is ours to bring forth. And in this community today, we know that we're here to raise our awareness of the divine nature that we are, but also to raise and support and uplift those that need to know that they are more. That they are not downtrodden. They are not the alienated and exiled. They are as loved and beloved as any being on the planet. And that we hold that love for not only ourselves in this room, not only for Little Rock, and Arkansas, and the USA, but we hold that for this entire planet of beings. And we're grateful that we have this opportunity, especially this week, to give thanks. To give thanks for the abundance that's in our lives. Even in those moments that we're not clear of where the next is coming from, whatever that is for us, there's still abundance here. And it arises, and it's always available. And we say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be a community together. And thank you for an opportunity to recognize that I have friends and a place to belong. And so it is. Amen. Let's try a song. Let's see what happens. Oh no.
Oh, it went back to it.
That's a hoot, because I just played it, but it won't play in the slideshow. All right. Well, I could horrify you and sing.
I can pull it up on Spotify.
No, we'll just move along. Unfortunately. Hopefully, though, Ashley and Dylan will be with us next week for our live music. And we appreciate that this morning Michael shared an original piece, is what he was telling us this morning. Okay. So let's do our meditation. I've got here a slide. This is a sculpture. This is a sculpture by Paige Bradley. And she calls it Expansion. And all her sculptures look like this. If you notice, the light is breaking through in all her sculptures. And most of her sculptures are about being in a place of meditation and allowing that light to expand through. So in these next few minutes, as we move into meditation, allow that light to break through. So in this, I invite you to close your eyes, soften your gaze if you choose not to close your eyes, and take a big breath and exhale it. And now take a breath and count to 4 slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now exhale it just in 2. 1, 2. And do that count. 4 in and 2 out. And knowing this place as our breath rises and falls, that this is life. This breath is the life that's within us all. And just like that oxygen that's in that air, that when you give it over to a flame, that flame ignites and grows brighter and expands. It consumes more so of what it is. It becomes more of itself in that oxygen, in that life. We're like that flame. We're burning eternal. That light within us, even though we have this wonderful appearance of being beings, we're beings of light. And whether you call it light, love, divine, it's still us. And it's for us to allow it to shine forth. So with each of those breaths that you take, know that you're fueling that fire. And that you're expanding. That light is moving forth. Your divine nature is being revealed more clearly, with more definition. And that you're growing in your awareness of the love and light that you are. And as that light fills this space, this room, this building, with each breath we expand that light and take it outside these walls. We see it like a wave moving forth across this state, across this continent, and moving out around this world to encompass it. This magnificent light. And we know in that light there is love, there is abundance, there's joy, there's fulfillment. And we're holding our planet in this sense of harmony and peace. And if we're holding the planet in harmony and peace, then we're holding ourselves and those next to us each day in that harmony and peace as well. And as you bring your awareness back to your breath, being clear that you're in this space, in your seat, knowing that that breath continues, thus that light continues to be flamed within you, and that it always expands, always is moving forth, and always holding that harmony, that peace, and all the other attributes that you desire and hold in your own mind. And when you're ready, you can return your awareness to this space. You can open your eyes and know that and so it is. So this has been the month of harvest, being November. Our theme for the month has been harvest and Thanksgiving. And actually Thanksgiving is just that. It's an opportunity to give thanks, right? Give thanks for the abundance. Give thanks for the harvest that we've received, whatever that harvest may be for us. And sometimes we got a harvest we don't like. You ever had a harvest you don't like, Betty? Me too. Sometimes we don't like that harvest, but it was still a harvest for us. We still produced a fruit. There was a fruition to something. It was complete, and we had an harvest. So this week, I'm going to share a little more about harvest and that idea of harvest because, well, I've had a week that's just been a little bit of everything. Right? I had a leak at the house and had to cut a hole in the dining room ceiling.
Oh, no.
And now that the leak is fixed, my job has been to stick my head up in that hole every day and make sure that the new plumbing isn't leaking before we put a new sheetrock up over that ceiling, right? I've had conversations I didn't want to have this week, right, with people I didn't necessarily want to be with. So I've just had things that weren't necessarily on my, the top of my, I would love to do that list. But I've also had things this week that have been great. I've spent some time with my bride of 36 years, Kim. Right? I've spent some time with her. We've strategized on another vacation on what we're doing. I got tickets to a Kansas City Chiefs football game, which I haven't been to a professional football game since the 70s. It's like, that was a long time ago.
I was a kid.
But I've also had some great conversations as opposed to some of those that I didn't want. I've had some wonderful conversations. And I've been in some small groups in which I felt embraced and loved and supported and uplifted. So I've had this really mix of harvest this week because all that was Russ's harvest. Whatever I picked up, put in my pocket and walked away with was my harvest, my experience with that. Yeah. And I want to share with you today, there's an old author, and I call her old because she was a contemporary of Charles Fillmore. Right? So back in this was probably written in 1918, I think, but this is Imelda Octavia Shanklin. Very prolific, and we probably even have a book of hers back there on our little small library of that. But lots of things that she produced. But she says for us that mental events have origin, development, and maturity. And what she means by that is mental event. Something happens in our world, okay? I raised my arm. Well, you have a mental event because you're thinking about, well, he's raising his arm, okay? So it wasn't just that the event happened over here, but you have a thought about that event. And that's your mental event. So you had an origin to it, but also that thought has a development that takes place. It gets expanded on, and it reaches a maturity. And a maturity, that's where it's harvested. It's complete. I remember, if you remember, he wrote books, and he had a wonderful PBS series, but Joseph Campbell that did a mythology series. And I can remember him telling a story about a creation event. And he was describing it, and I'm not sure what tradition it came out of. I don't remember that. That's been many a decade too. But I can just remember him telling the story. And he talked about it that the creation was described as a lotus. And here's this lotus that's nothing. It becomes a seed and a bloom, and it blossoms and it opens up, and it becomes into maturity, and it closes back down and blinks out. And that creation is this continuing process of that lotus opening up, expanding, becoming mature, and then blinking out. And that creation is ultimately always coming and going, opening up, closing back down. And that's an ever-going, ever-continuing process. And Imelda for us is really talking to me that all our thoughts have this same origin of thoughts, same opening up. It develops, and it develops by how we think about it, and we get a product, we get a maturity of it, and then it closes back down. And it closes back down until we have the next thought, the next origin story, so to speak. To give you an example of this, Maria works in a company, and that company is laying off folks. So they lay off Maria. And Maria, well, first off, is just horrified that her job is ended, horrified that, oh my goodness, her income just went zip, bye-bye, gone. Her relationship with her coworkers, you don't know what's going to happen with that. She's concerned about, will I have money to pay my car payment and my house payment? She also is just concerned that maybe this was my fault. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I didn't do what I was supposed to well enough. Maybe I just didn't do my job the way it needed to be done. And that's why the company's having to lay people off. So she's caught in this idea, this awareness that somehow she is what's perpetuated this problem. And thus she's the problem here. And as she thinks that, she may have the same kind of inner dialogue that some of us might have. And her inner dialogue might be, this is the worst thing that could happen. I've lost my stability, my income. How will I survive? Maybe I just wasn't good enough. Maybe in the economy it's so bad. Nobody's hiring out there. They're not going to hire me anyway. I'm not a spring chicken. This sucks. I'm stuck here and this sucks. And of course, being in that place, how does she potentially respond to that? She goes home, she worries, she frets, she struggles with that. And she looks at some jobs and some openings, but she holds this idea that nobody's hiring, so she didn't even apply for jobs. And at the end of her week, what's changed? Well, she didn't have a job, but nothing else has changed for her. Now, let's look at James. James is in the same department. He gets laid off with Maria. But James looks at it and goes, this sucks. But, I got some good skills. I've got things that I do well. There are companies out there looking for what I do. I think that there's somebody that's the perfect job for me. And matter of fact, I've been thinking about maybe it was time for me to make a change anyway. Maybe a new job, a new kind of job, a new career. What else could I do? So he starts taking some personal development courses. And he reaches out to his contacts and his friends and talks about, which jobs are available. And he starts making some applications and going to some interviews. And at the end of the week, for him, he has a job. Okay? So what was the difference here between James and Maria? Well,
Their thought.
their thoughts, how they're thinking. Generally, it was their thoughts, how they approached the same situation for them. So Maria was feeling devastated and defeated, and she ended up being paralyzed by her experience. Where James, even though he was, shocked and disappointed himself, he saw it as an opportunity. And from that opportunity place, he created his harvest. So both of them created a harvest. But Imelda will tell us a little something else here. Because Imelda says that an event is emerging from the invisible. So just think of that. I raised my arm. There was no thought there about my arm raising until you had the thought that I just raised my arm. It rose from the invisible. You could say it rose from the recesses of your mind, or you could say it arose from your divine nature. Either way. But he says, an event is emerging from the invisible, and not understanding that the event is in the process of development. Origin, development, and maturity. Not understanding the event is in the process of development, so begins the defensive, perhaps offensive preparations against a supposed antagonist. This is something I've got to wield my sword against. I've got to defeat this. It's terrible. It's horrendous in my life. Right? I've got to go at it. But movements of offense or defense arrest the event. Arrest is the key word here. And lengthens the time which it requires for the working out of its destiny. So what is she saying? She's saying that your thinking in that origin and development and maturity process actually lengthens the amount of time in the development. It doesn't get to its maturity. It doesn't have its fruit produced as easily, as swiftly. Because she said our divine nature is always reaching toward that maturity. And if the lotus is opening and closing, then there's a mature and now an origin. But if we're hindering that opening to reaching maturity, then we lengthen the process through the way our thinking. In essence, she's telling us we never really quite get to our harvest. Okay? Thus, we get to live in whatever we were experiencing in the development. We don't get to the completion piece of it. And if we don't get to the completion, then we can't move on to the next step, the next opening and closing. So there's not a movement and a progression and a continuing development of ourselves. We're hindering it. She calls that we're letting it be unripe. We're not letting our harvest get to its full ripeness, its full completion for us. So today, as we move into Turkey Day here in a few days, which seems impossible for this year to be there already, but we are. What's the harvest that you're bringing forth? So what were the seeds that you planted? Okay. But what did you allow to develop? And how did you develop? Whatever it is in your life, because there's some things in your life that you're loving and excited about, and some things you're not loving and not excited about. What are you doing? How are you developing that? What are the thoughts that you're having? Are you being Maria? Or are you being James in that process? And if you're hindering that process and wondering why you're not getting to the goal, to what it is that you're reaching and desiring, then you can understand that maybe you're the one that's hindering that development. And that also, in that process, what is it that you need to take action on? Because Maria was a great example of taking no action. But James took action. Right? Took action in his optimism, but literally took action. Because he could have been just as optimistic as the world could give, but if he hadn't taken any action, where would his harvest be? He'd be sitting with Maria at home. Right? The same result, potentially, could be there for him. So I invite you this week, what's your harvest? So, being careful with this, I'm going to invite you, what's taking place in our news this week that you could play a part in the harvest of for yourself? In other words, are you bringing about a Maria approach, or are you bringing about a James approach with our news this week? Y'all are, I know most of you are looking at the news, okay? You may be like me, I'm giving it a wide berth, but it's still, I'm seeing stuff, okay?
Actually, I have not watched the news, not one iota since the election. So, you know what, I'm taking a James approach because I'm choosing to focus on what's truly highest and best, and I don't believe I get that from any of the news, so
I do
stand away from
the
it.
same thing. Exactly. I don't watch the news since the election. I just cut that out. I just do something fun, a good movie, whatever.
So let's use that. What's in the news from the point of view, to me, it's the politics of it. And it doesn't matter where you are in your political world. It doesn't matter. You know what? I have voted for presidents since those 70s, right? Okay. And I have voted for presidents that won, and I voted for presidents that lost, or, candidates that won, candidates lost. And I've had presidents that I liked what they did, but every one of those presidents, I had things I didn't like what they did. I was in opposition to what they were doing in something of that. So what's taking place through this election and moving into our new president-elect, it's in some ways it's the same for me. That's not really changed in my world. But thinking about that, am I looking at the doom and gloom? And it doesn't matter whether I'm standing on a liberal or conservative or Democratic or Republican side. Am I thinking that there's doom and gloom, that this side is bringing forth terrible? Or am I looking, as Travis voiced for it, am I looking in an optimistic way? Am I looking to that actually for there to be change, there has to be divine nature in action? Right? Hi there.
Hi.
Come on in.
Come in.
So change is divine nature in action. So what are we allowing to keep unfolding and opening? And in our political world, if we're standing and saying, I need to be opposed, I need to draw my sword, I need to be defensive and offensive, or however I think I need to stand against whatever this is, am I allowing it to move through and have its creation moment, to move through its origin, development, and maturity so that it can move on to the next and the next? And in divine mind, there's a continuing expansion and growing and opening for us. So by us holding that optimistic, at least finding what it is that we can be grateful for and have value and give thanks, we're allowing it to move into that maturity so that we can move to the next piece and the next piece. Spiral dynamics, which is a way of talking about consciousness, would say we're just allowing us to continue that conscious evolution, that development for us, and that we're not hindering that. We're not trying to stick it in one little place and say this is the only way it can be. We're allowing that evolution to take place. So with that, I'm just going to invite one more time. This week, look at your harvest and think about how you're approaching whatever it is that's taking place in your life. If you don't like your harvest, then what was the thinking? What was taking place within you that may have helped contribute to that? Either that harvest or contributed to the not seeming to get to that harvest, not getting to the maturity. So spend your week as you give thanks on Thanksgiving and think about those things that you do value and you do love and are grateful for. Okay? What else it is that you can be grateful for and value in what's taking place in our news. Okay? I've looked at some of those things and I've seen, there's the glimmer. It's online.
Somebody needs to mute.
Hey, we can hear you online. Okay. So, was that a negative, terrible thing and that I should be upset about it and spend my time and energy focused that we could hear somebody online? Okay. Or do I just find the humor in it and do I move forth from it? Okay. Yes. Exactly.
Exactly.
Kind of really big enough, but it still has to work. I put the bottom.
It's the
Then I
worst.
was leaving this out. Yeah, it looks too hot. Then change the color.
All right.
You can also turn your volume on.
I got one pack of organic, and I got one pack of
Yeah.
The worst, right?
the regular
Yep.
change.
And I can't
So,
do anything about that. Okay.
Turn your volume down.
I got one,
Turn your
you know,
volume
one.
down.
Unfortunately, that will end it for her. Anyway. So with this,
She put her.
We can see her.
oh, yep,
The mic thing came on and then it turned off.
yes. That's because I've muted her, so she can't mute or unmute. That she doesn't have any impact on that. Okay. Let's just move. Let's move to another place of thanksgiving for us today, and that it's moving into recognizing that doesn't matter how small a community is, doesn't matter how large a community is, we have to hold an understanding that prosperity and abundance are part of our nature, even in the midst of the times that we're not sure about it. Right? I would like to fly to Bali. I would like to spend 2 weeks, 4 weeks in Bali. When I look at my checking account, I squirm a little about that. So part of me has this consciousness that it's sometimes hard for me to look at things and see that abundance and prosperity are fully here, right? Because I'm looking at this bottom line number and going, but it doesn't look like it's here. Well, for others as individuals or as a community, the point isn't to look at the bottom line and be stuck on that number there. We may need to work within that number, but it's for us to hold and understand where our abundance arises from. And it arises from our divine nature. Because within that divine nature, prosperity and abundance are infinite. There are no constraints on it, so that we have that available to us. And it's for us to keep returning to that, keep optimistically embracing that, even while in the midst of seeing this number. But this number doesn't dictate to us what our value is, what our worth is. So worth as individuals, but worth as a community. So I'm just going to invite, this is our opportunity. Will someone come get the basket and pass that around, please? It's up here behind the prayer box. Betty! Thank you, Betty.
Why not?
Why not? Why not? Thank you. So I invite, whether you've already given online this week, or you mailed a check in, or you're contributing into the basket that Betty is holding, I invite you to, in your mind, hold that offering. And that offering doesn't matter whether you think it's only a few dollars, or whether it's a significant part of your month's income, wherever it falls in there. To hold that in your mind, to hold that in your hand, and you can set it right there. You can set it right there. Yes. I want you to bless this, okay? I offer my blessing to it, but it's your money, and it's your community you're contributing to. So I want you to bless that money and see it moving forth, moving out, doing the good works, so to speak, on what that money can be put to use to. Because that money isn't about just paying for bills, right? That money is about creating a community that you can come to and be a part of, that you can sit with, that you can be a family with, that you can belong. And whether it's you that's been coming here for 14 years, or it's you that's coming in here for the first time, second time, fourth time, whatever it might be, that the money that's contributed here is about creating that sense of community, creating the community itself. So with that, I invite us to say our offering statement. Together, divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I send it forth with my blessings and my love. All right. So upcoming, we have self-care class on Monday nights. We have Oneness Blessing on Tuesdays. Coming up, in the Lantern Mandals will be with us next Sunday, and that starts Advent. So next Sunday is about faith and hope. And then you see that Jeannie will have a couple weeks with us, and then we'll start tag teaming, and we'll do a Christmas service and a Burning Bowl service at the end of December, and we have a Christmas party at Trios. That's just, we're having a table. You need to RSVP, and I know that you can RSVP online, though that's at our website, or you can let Jeannie know, and she will keep accounts so that we have a large enough table, but you're just going to purchase off the menu. That means you can buy as little or as much as you want, and you aren't limited to, oh, you got to pay a banquet fee and this is how much it is. It's whatever you want to purchase yourself, okay? So that's taking place here for our month, okay? We'll be setting up our space for Christmas. So we'll be putting out our Christmas decorations. We'll be putting up a tree. And I'm going to invite you, because this is the time of year for some of us that this is the time of loss, because this time of season reminds us of the people that aren't in our lives, that we used to spend our holidays with, that we don't spend anymore. So we're doing a tree of remembrance. And I invite you, you can bring an ornament, you can bring a picture, you can bring whatever you want that helps for you signify that memory. And we're going to honor that memory as part of December. So they can go on the tree, or we can put it up here up front, but just know, bring something to contribute, whatever that may be, for whomever you're remembering. Okay? We would like for someone, if you would, to donate some poinsettias for us. Okay? We need 4 large and 4 small to go on the tables. That doesn't mean you got to purchase 8 total plants. It's whatever you want to purchase. I know that Costco has pretty doggone big ones for $17. They've also got some $33 ones. They're almost as big as these over here. Okay? But the smaller of those, but those are large poinsettias. So if someone would like to donate those or any portion of those, let me know, please. Now, let's get rid of this guy.
Oh, look at that. What is this?
This is Souls for Souls. So during December, we're going to collect gently worn shoes. Okay? And guess what? Kim and I have come up with almost 10 pair of shoes. Does that surprise you, Verrain, that I've come up with 10 pairs of shoes?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Soles for Souls is an international organization that collects shoes. And again, they collect gently worn, used shoes. Not your old worn out stuff, but stuff that can be passed along. They also collect new shoes that can be passed along. So you could go to somewhere and buy some new shoes. If you wanted to, that I would invite you to buy kids' shoes, because they provide shoes for those in the U.S., but they also provide shoes internationally.